The girl in the fire. The sky was on fire. Explosions shook the ground. Smoke covered everything. Soldiers ran, shouted, and fell. The war between humans and the alien empire had reached its worst day. In the middle of all this, a small alien girl was hiding. She had long silver hair, glowing purple eyes, and skin like soft blue light. She was just a child. Her tiny body was bruised. Her clothes were burned. Her hands trembled as she held a broken metal toy close to her chest. She had no name now, only fear. Behind a pile of rubble, she waited. The air was hot. Her breathing was fast. Her home had been destroyed. Her parents were gone. She didn't even know where she was anymore. The last thing she remembered was screaming and fire. Then she saw something. Footsteps. Heavy boots. Not alien. Human. She froze. Humans were the enemy. That's what everyone told her. That's what she believed. But now one was coming closer. He had a long black coat, dirt on his face, and a big weapon in his hand. She covered her mouth to stop a scream. The human soldier stopped. He looked around. His eyes were tired. His arm was bleeding. But then he saw her. Their eyes met. For a moment, everything went quiet. No fire. No war. Just a child and a man from two different worlds, staring at each other. The human slowly put his weapon down. He knelt on one knee and took off his helmet. His voice was soft. "You're just a kid," he whispered. The girl didn't move. She didn't speak, but her eyes were wide and full of tears. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said again, slowly reaching into his bag. He pulled out a water bottle and placed it on the ground. She looked at it, then at him. Her throat burned. Her lips were cracked. She hadn't drunk water in 2 days. Still shaking, she reached out and grabbed the bottle. She drank. Fast. The man gave her a weak smile. "There you go." Suddenly, another explosion shook the ground. The girl screamed and dropped the bottle. The human jumped and covered her with his arms. Dust and rocks fell around them. He didn't move until it was safe. Then he looked at her again. "You can't stay here," he said. He searched his bag again and pulled out a small silver pendant. It was simple, shaped like a star, and it glowed faintly. He placed it in her hands. "Keep this. It's my lucky charm," he said. "You'll be safe." She held it tightly. He pressed a button on his wrist, and a small pod, hidden behind metal sheets, opened nearby. "Get inside," he told her. "This is a shield pod. No one will find you in there." She stared at him. Her tiny voice finally came out. "Will you come back?" The human paused. He looked at the sky, then back at her. "Yes, I promise." The girl climbed into the pod. It was small, just enough for her to lie down. It closed slowly, making a soft humming sound as the shield activated. She looked through the clear glass. Her purple eyes stayed on the human. He smiled once more. "Be brave, little one." Then he turned around and ran into the fire. Hours passed. The pod kept her safe. It stayed hidden under wreckage and smoke. But the girl didn't sleep. She waited and waited. Every time she heard footsteps, her heart jumped. But it was never him. She kept the pendant close to her heart. It glowed, warm, like his smile. But he never came back. Years later, that little alien girl was not little anymore. She was tall now, strong. Her hair was longer, her body covered in armor. But around her neck, the same glowing pendant. She was part of a galactic scout team now. She trained hard, fought hard. But in her heart, one mission burned brighter than any other. Find the human who saved her, because he kept her alive. Because she never forgot his face. And because she had never said thank you. She's not a child anymore. The stars were quiet now. No bombs, no screaming, no fire. But her heart, It was still loud. That little alien girl, once weak, afraid, and lost, was no longer hiding in rubble. She was grown now. A warrior, a tracker, a ghost in the galaxy. Her name was Zyra. She stood on top of a rocky cliff, wind blowing through her silver hair. Her glowing purple eyes focused far ahead. Below her, a large alien city buzzed with lights, ships, and movement. But she wasn't here for the view. She was hunting. Or maybe, searching. Around her neck, the small glowing pendant still hung. The same one the human had given her so many years ago. It never stopped glowing. Not once. Zyra belonged to a new force now, the Galactic Seekers. They were trained to find lost things, missing people, abandoned tech, faded signals. She had joined for one reason only, to find him. They called her the Ghost Girl in the Seeker base, partly because she moved without sound, and partly because no one knew her real story, except her captain. Captain Brell was old and wise, with 4 eyes and a face like cracked stone. He knew Zyra's pain, even if she never said it out loud. One night, he stood beside her as she cleaned her plasma blade. "You still dream of the human?" he asked softly. She didn't answer at first. She just kept polishing the weapon. Then she said, "I don't dream. I remember." The captain nodded. "Most don't believe humans still exist." Zyra looked down at the glowing pendant. "I only need one." That very night, a strange alert came through the Seeker HQ. A human distress signal. Real, faint, old, buried under deep space traffic. But it was there. Zyra was the first to respond. She didn't even wait for approval. She took her ship, a small black one called Whisper, and shot into the stars. Destination, Eos 9, a half-forgotten planet, surrounded by wreckage from the old wars. Forbidden, dangerous. Rumors said it was cursed. Zyra didn't care. If there was even a 1% chance he was there, she would go. The planet looked dead. Gray skies. No sun. Just clouds and lightning that never stopped. Old ships lay broken in giant craters. Once, this place was a war zone. Now it was a graveyard. Zyra landed silently. Her boots touched the wet, muddy ground. She wrapped herself in a dark cloak and turned on her tracking lens. There it was. The signal. Still pulsing. Weak, but alive. She walked through the ruins of metal and bone. Her hand rested on her blaster. Creatures crawled in the shadows. Machines blinked in silence. Broken helmets still lay where soldiers had fallen long ago. And then, she found it. A hidden outpost, mostly buried under rubble, vines, and dirt. The signal came from inside. Zyra pushed open the rusty doors. Inside, it was dark, cold, and quiet. But someone had been here. Old food cans, a sleeping mat, footprints, even a drawing done in human ink. It showed a man kneeling beside a small alien girl. Her heart stopped. It was her, and him. She stepped forward. Her hand touched the drawing. It was old, but fresh enough to still exist. "He remembers," she whispered. Then she heard it. Footsteps. She spun around, blaster ready. A figure stood at the end of the hallway. Tall, wounded, limping, his face hidden under a hood. "Who's there?" Zyra called out. No answer. She stepped closer. "Are you the one who sent the signal?" The man didn't reply. But he didn't run either. Zyra lowered her weapon. "I'm not here to hurt you." The man finally spoke, his voice rough and tired. "Go back. You don't belong here." Zyra's heart pounded. That voice. It was older, deeper, but she knew it. She reached for the pendant around her neck and held it out. "This, you gave it to me. Do you remember?" The man's body froze. Then slowly he pulled back his hood. His face was scared, his eyes dull, his beard was gray. But beneath all of that, it was him. The human. Her human. He looked at her in silence. You survived, he whispered. Zira smiled softly. Because of you. He shook his head. I tried to come back, but the war took everything. I was captured, escaped, hunted. I didn't even think you were real anymore. I never forgot you, she said. I searched every system, every signal. I crossed black holes. For this. He looked at her again, really looked. You were just a child, he said. Now look at you. She nodded. And you're not alone anymore. He wanted to say something. But then, alert. Zira's wristband lit up. Unknown ships approaching. Enemy ships. They had followed her. They had come for the human. Zira grabbed his arm. We need to leave. Now. But he pulled back. No. I can't leave this place. I'm not who I used to be. I don't care who you are now, she said. You saved my life. Now it's my turn. Outside, the sky turned red. Ships entered the atmosphere. The hunt had begun. The forbidden planet. The storm outside was growing. Red lightning flashed across the sky of Eos 9, shaking the broken ground. The wind howled like a monster. Above the clouds, enemy ships began to descend, dark, sharp, and hungry for blood. Inside the ruined outpost, Zira stood firm. She had waited years for this moment, and she wasn't going to lose him now. The human stood by the wall, breathing hard. His name, finally spoken, was Dane Keller, once a captain in the Human Earth Defense Corps. Now, just a broken man with a past. You need to go, Dane said, still holding his side. You don't know who they are. They want me dead. I don't care, Zira replied. I didn't cross 5 galaxies to leave you here. Her voice was steady, but inside, her heart raced. He had changed. He was older, slower, and scarred. But she still saw the same eyes, the ones that gave her water, gave her hope, and gave her a second chance at life. Dane looked at her, something soft in his eyes. You've become strong, he whispered. Stronger than I ever was. Zira helped him stand. You were strong when it mattered. Outside, the enemy landed. These were no ordinary soldiers. They were Red Talons, a mercenary group feared across the galaxy. They hunted rare targets for money. Traitors, hidden leaders, and humans. Especially humans. Zira activated her scanner. 5 ships, she muttered. 20 soldiers. 2 bounty drones. Heavy weapons. Dane coughed. You really know how to make friends. She gave him a sharp look. Can you still shoot? Can you still run? He replied. They both smirked, just for a moment. Then the first blast hit the outpost wall. They ran. Through dark tunnels. Past old war machines. Zira led the way. Dane followed. Slower, limping, but trying. As they reached the exit, a blast door slammed shut. Trapped. Zira cursed under her breath. Dane fell against the wall. There's another way. Through the reactor core. Is it stable? No. She didn't hesitate. Show me. The core room was glowing with broken energy. Pipes leaked gas. Sparks jumped from the walls. The air was thick and hot. It looked like a death trap. Zira moved fast, jumping over wires, dodging vents, guiding Dane along the path. Behind them, footsteps echoed. The Red Talons had entered the tunnels. Zira opened a panel, trying to reroute power to the old elevator. Dane leaned beside her, blood running down his arm. Why me? He asked softly. Why risk everything to find someone like me? She paused, looked him straight in the eyes. Because when I had no one, you gave me something. What? She held up the glowing pendant. Hope. The elevator groaned to life. They stepped in. It creaked, shook, and slowly rose to the surface. As they reached the top, they found themselves in the old hangar. It was large, broken, and open to the sky. And standing there, waiting, were the Red Talons. Their leader, a tall alien with golden armor and glowing red eyes, smiled. Well, the last human. And the girl who was supposed to be dead. Zira stepped forward. You'll have to go through me. The leader laughed. Gladly. Dane tried to raise his blaster, but Zira pushed him behind cover. This is my fight now. The battle exploded. Zira moved like a shadow. Her blade sliced through the air. Her energy shield deflected shots. Her training, years of it, was now being tested for one reason: to protect the man who once protected her. Dane watched from behind cover, weak but wide-eyed. She was fearless, beautiful in motion, and full of fire, just like the world he had once pulled her from. One drone flew toward him. Dane fired, hitting it in the core. It exploded, pushing him back. But another enemy was coming. Fast. Zira saw it. She jumped, spinning in the air, and landed hard, taking the enemy down. She turned, panting. Still think I should have left. He grinned. Maybe just a little. But the red talons weren't done. The leader grabbed Zira and slammed her into the wall. Her blade fell. Her shield cracked. He raised a plasma cannon to her chest. You don't get to win, girl, he growled. Then, boom. The leader fell. Dane stood behind him, blaster smoking. He helped Zira up. Now we're even. The battle was over. The red talons retreated. Their ships fled. Zira and Dane stood together in the rain, breathing, bleeding, but alive. Zira touched her pendant again. It still glowed. Stronger now. We need to get off this planet, she said. I know a place, Dane replied. Far from here. Quiet. Safe. She looked at him. I didn't come to hide, she said. He looked confused. Then what did you come for? She smiled, and for the first time, tears filled her eyes. To bring you home, the broken man. They flew for hours in silence. Zira piloted the small stealth ship through asteroid fields and empty space, far from patrol zones, far from danger. Dane sat in the co-pilot seat, but he didn't touch the controls. His eyes stared out at the stars like he didn't recognize them anymore. Zira didn't speak. Not yet. She knew that look. She had worn it once, as a child, trapped in a war zone, holding a broken toy and wondering if anyone would ever come back. Now he wore it. A man who had once saved her. A man who now needed saving. They landed on a quiet moon. Valis V3. It was small, peaceful, and untouched by war. White trees covered the land, and glowing rivers ran through soft blue soil. It was the kind of place people dreamed about when the galaxy got too loud. Zira helped Dane out of the ship. His leg was stiff, wrapped in metal braces. His arm had been burned in the last fight. Still, he walked. Slowly, proudly. She led him to a small cave near the waterfall. She had built it herself during training. A hidden shelter. A place to breathe. Inside, there were only 2 beds, a small fire pit, and a view of the stars through a crack in the stone ceiling. Dane sat down with a heavy sigh. He looked around. You've been here before. She nodded. Many times. He smiled weakly. Figures. You always did like hiding in strange places. Zira brought him warm tea, made from local leaves. He sipped it slowly. I haven't had this in years, he said. Zira sat beside him, her eyes steady. I want to know what happened, she said. Dane didn't answer right away. He stared at the steam rising from his cup. Then he began. I went back for you. I swear I did, Dane said, his voice low. The day I left you in the pod, I thought I could come back in 5 minutes. 10, maybe. But everything changed. My squad was hit. My comms were jammed. By the time I reached the pod again, it was gone. Zira listened in silence. I searched, Dane continued. Everywhere. I even got court-martialed for disobeying orders. They said I abandoned the mission. I didn't care. I just wanted to find the little girl with purple eyes." His voice broke a little. "But you were nowhere." He placed his hand on his chest, and something broke inside me. Zira's hands tightened around the pendant. "I wasn't gone," she said quietly. "I stayed hidden for 3 days. Then my people found me and took me far away. They told me you had tricked me, lied to me, that humans were dangerous." Dane looked at her. "And you believed them?" She shook her head. "No, because of this." She held up the pendant. "It glowed whenever I thought of you. I kept it even when they tried to take it. I trained, fought, and rose through ranks, all just to search for one man. You." Tears slipped down her cheek. "I didn't need you to be perfect. I just needed to know you were real." Dane looked down, ashamed. "I'm not who I was. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a hero. I'm a man with old bones, broken scars, and too many regrets." Zira stood up, walked to the fire. "Maybe that's true," she said, "but you're still the reason I'm alive. And to me, that means something." The night passed. In the morning, Dane walked outside for the first time. He looked at the glowing river, touched the white leaves, breathed the clean air. Zira joined him. He turned to her. "Why save me now, after all this time?" She smiled gently. "Because you saved me first." For the next few days, Dane stayed in the cave, healing slowly. Zira brought him food, told him stories of the galaxy, how Earth fell, how new alliances rose, how humans were now hunted for bounties. He listened, sometimes laughed, sometimes cried, but something inside him began to change. One morning, she found him holding a blaster, cleaning it carefully. "You're not running anymore?" she asked. Dane looked up, and for the first time, his eyes had a spark. "I've been running too long." He looked at her. "You didn't come all this way just to rescue an old man. You came to remind him who he was." Zira nodded. "And?" He smiled. "I remember now." But peace didn't last. A warning flashed on Zira's communicator. A bounty had been placed on Dane's head. A very high one. Someone knew he was alive. Someone wanted him dead. Fast. Dane stood up, armor half fixed, blaster at his side. "You should leave," he told her. "They won't stop." Zira stared at him. "You're not dying here. Not after I found you." He raised an eyebrow. "And what are you going to do?" She pulled out a device. "I sent a signal, a false one, to lead them away. But it won't last long." He grinned. "That's my girl." She looked at him with pride. "No, I'm your soldier now." Outside, thunder rumbled. A ship entered the sky. Black. Fast. Not red talons. Something worse. Zira and Dane stood side by side. Old warrior. New protector. The battle wasn't over. But this time, they were ready. Together. Her promise. The sky over Valis V3 turned black. A huge shadow passed over the white trees and glowing rivers. The birds stopped singing. Even the wind held its breath. Zira stepped outside the cave, eyes locked on the dark ship landing nearby. It wasn't a bounty hunter vessel. It was worse. The Obsidian Order, the most feared group in the galaxy. They didn't come for money. They came for power, control, elimination. And now, they had found Dane Keller, the last living symbol of old Earth. Zira gripped her blade. She didn't tremble. Not this time. Behind her, Dane walked out slowly. He wore the same long black coat he once had during the war. It was torn, faded, but it still carried weight. Like him, he looked at the ship. "That symbol on the wing," he said. "That's from the High Executor's fleet." Zira nodded. "They don't send scouts. They send destroyers." "They're not leaving without a body," Dane muttered. She turned to him. "They won't get one." The ship opened. 10 armored soldiers stepped out. All black. No faces. No words. and behind them, a woman in gold armor. Her eyes were white like glass. Her voice came through a speaker in her chest. "Dane Keller," she said, "you are charged with crimes against the new galactic order. Come willingly, or die with the girl." Zira stepped forward. "She's not just a girl," Dane said sharply, stepping beside her. "She's my future." The woman's head tilted. "Then she dies first." The order was given. Blasters were raised. Zira moved first. She threw a flash bomb to the ground. White light exploded. The forest turned to dust and sparks. She rolled behind a fallen tree and returned fire. Her plasma shots lit up the sky. Dane grabbed a rifle and took position at her side. He hadn't fought in years, but muscle memory kicked in. Each shot hit its target. Still, there were too many. Zira's shield took heavy hits. Her shoulder burned. Dane's side bullet again. They were surrounded, but they didn't fall. Not yet. Zira pulled Dane into a narrow canyon. They hid behind crystal rocks, catching their breath. "Too many," Dane said, coughing hard. Zira tore cloth from her cloak and pressed it to his wound. "You once told me to be brave," she said. "Now I'm telling you to hold on." He looked at her, eyes heavy. "I'm slowing you down." "You saved me once," she said, voice firm. "I made a promise. I'm saving you now." The enemy closed in. Zira set traps, mines, noise beacons, hologram decoys. One by one, the soldiers fell into her plan. But the leader in gold kept walking, unbothered, eyes glowing. "You cannot protect him," she called out. "His death is already written." Zira stood tall, armor cracked, blade ready. "Then I'll rewrite the story." The final battle began. Zira charged forward, blades flashing. She ducked under shots, leaped off rocks, used the terrain like a dance. The golden leader met her in the center. They clashed, blade against energy staff. Sparks flew. Ground cracked. It wasn't just a fight. It was everything. Zira was no longer the scared child hiding in a war zone. She was a warrior defending what mattered most. Dane watched from the ridge. His hand trembled on the trigger. Then he saw one soldier sneaking behind Zira. He didn't think. He fired. The soldier dropped. But Dane fell too. His wound had reopened. Zira turned and saw him go down. Her heart cracked. No. The golden leader used the moment to strike, slashing Zira's leg. She dropped to one knee. Pain. Blood. Fire. But still, she rose. And in one clean strike, she drove her blade through the leader's chest. The woman fell back, sparks flying from her armor. The rest of the enemy retreated. Zira limped to Dane. He was lying on the ground, eyes half closed. "You always had bad timing," he said with a weak smile. "Don't you die," she whispered. "I'm tired." She grabbed his hand. "You rest later. Not now." Tears rolled down her face. "I need you. You're the reason I'm here. You're the reason I'm strong. I'm not letting you go. Not like this." He looked at her. "You're strong now. Stronger than me." She shook her head. "Because of you." He blinked slowly. Then something strange happened. Her pendant glowed, bright like a star. It pulsed and spread light across Dane's body. His wound stopped bleeding. His breathing slowed, then steadied. He looked around, confused. What just happened? Zira stared at the pendant. "It's not just a charm," she said. "It was connected to your DNA. It only works when we're together." Dane sat up slowly, touching his side. The pain was gone. He looked at her, eyes wide. "You saved me." She nodded. "That was my promise." Later that night, they sat by the river. No words, just the sound of peace. Dane turned to Zira. "What now?" Zira smiled. "Now we build." "Build what?" She looked up at the stars. "A place for those who don't belong. Humans, hybrids, Forgotten warriors. Survivors. He nodded slowly. I like that. She took his hand. Then let's begin. The battle for one life. The stars above Valis V3 were calm. But deep in the shadows of space, another storm was rising. The Obsidian Order had failed once, but they never failed twice. High above the moon, a second fleet arrived. 10 warships, hundreds of soldiers, and at the center, a black command vessel shaped like a blade. This time, they weren't coming to arrest. They were coming to erase. Inside the cave, Zyra and Dane sat by the glowing fire. They had just begun to believe peace was possible. Zyra was patching her armor. Dane was adjusting a shoulder brace he built from old tech. But then her communicator buzzed. A red signal. Encrypted. Emergency level. She checked it, and her face went pale. Dane saw it too. They're back, she said softly. He nodded. Of course they are. Zyra stood. They're sending everything. He looked at her. Then we fight with everything. They didn't have soldiers. They didn't have warships. They had only each other. But that had always been enough. Zyra activated the moon's deep defense grid, an ancient system built by an extinct race. She had studied its controls, repaired the broken cores, and added her own traps. Old weapons woke from sleep. Turrets rotated. Mines clicked alive. Drones lifted off the ground. Dane looked at her in amazement. You planned all this? She gave a half smile. I always prepare for bad company. As the first Obsidian ships entered the sky, Zyra and Dane took their positions. She climbed the ridge with her sniper rifle. He moved to the inner perimeter with explosives and signal jammers. Every inch of this moon was now a battlefield. But they weren't fighting for territory. They were fighting for one life. His. The sky turned red again. Enemy dropships landed in rows. Black armored troops marched out, eyes glowing, weapons humming. At the back of the army stood a towering figure, Commander Vex, half machine, half alien, wearing a skull-shaped helmet. He raised one clawed hand. Bring me the human, he said. Alive or dead. Zyra fired first. Her shot tore through the wind, hitting the Lid Scout directly in the chest. Chaos followed. Turrets activated. Drones flew down like hornets. Mines exploded in fireballs. Soldiers screamed. Orders were shouted. And through it all, Zyra moved like lightning. Dane worked from below, disabling their comms, setting traps, using everything he had learned from his years in hiding. He wasn't as fast as he used to be, but he was just as smart. Hours passed. The battlefield was glowing with heat and energy. Zyra's shield cracked again. Her arm was bleeding. Her rifle was nearly empty. Still, she didn't stop, because every time she looked down and saw Dane, still standing, still fighting, she remembered why she was here. Commander Vex finally stepped forward. Enough games, he growled. He jumped from the hill, smashing through defenses. He was massive. Nothing slowed him down. Zyra tried to stop him, but he was too fast. He reached Dane and threw him against a rock wall. Human filth, Vex snarled. Dane groaned, coughing blood. Zyra screamed. She ran toward them, blade ready. But Vex caught her midair. He slammed her into the ground. Hard. She couldn't breathe. Her vision blurred. But through it, she saw Dane crawling toward her. She whispered, "No, stay back." He didn't listen. He reached her, took her hand. "I won't let you fall," he said, voice shaking. "You saved me. Now let me save you." Vex laughed. "Both of you will die." He raised his weapon. Then, boom, a hidden energy core behind him exploded. Dane had activated it with his suit's last battery. The blast knocked Vex off his feet. Zyra used the moment to rise, covered in blood, and charge. She drove her blade deep into Vex's chest. Once. Twice. A final time. The machine screamed and collapsed. Silence. Then, the rest of the soldiers stopped. Leaderless, afraid. Zira stood tall, weapon still in hand, breathing hard. "I don't run," she shouted. "Not when I'm protecting the only good man left in this galaxy." One by one, the enemy retreated. Their ships lifted. They fled. Zira turned to Dane. He was lying on the ground, blood pooling around him. She dropped to her knees. "No, no, stay with me." He looked at her with tired eyes. "You kept your promise. You're going to be fine," she said, pressing a healing patch to his side. "You'll make it." He gave a small smile. "You're the strongest person I know." Then his eyes closed. The pendant around her neck glowed, hotter than ever. Brighter. It pulsed once, then released a wave of light across his body. Again, like before, the wound sealed. His breath returned. His eyes opened. "I really need to stop dying," he muttered. She laughed and cried at the same time. "You're not allowed to die," she said. "I haven't finished thanking you." He sat up slowly. "Well then, hurry up." That night, they sat near the river again. Quiet. Safe. Zira looked at the stars. "Your story could have ended long ago," she said. "But it didn't." Dane turned to her. "Because of you." She smiled softly. "No, because of us. You saved me first. The war was over. At least for them." The stars above Valis V3 shimmered brighter than ever before. The air was fresh. The rivers glowed peacefully. No more enemy ships, no more explosions, just the calm after a storm. Zira stood at the edge of the glowing water, her silver hair moving in the breeze. Behind her, Dane walked slowly, still recovering, but he was alive, and this time, truly free. They had survived something impossible, and they had done it together. Zira watched the water ripple. She held the pendant in her hand, the one Dane had given her all those years ago. It was glowing again, but softer now. Warmer, like a heartbeat. "It's changed," Dane said from behind her. She turned to him. "We've changed." Dane walked to her side and looked at the stars. "They'll come again, you know. Maybe not tomorrow, but someday." "I know," she said. "And next time, we'll be ready." He smiled. "We?" Zira nodded. "You're not going anywhere." He raised an eyebrow. "You sure? I'm old. Slow. You could probably carry me at this point." She grinned. "I already have." Later that night, they sat beside a fire. It wasn't like before, tense, quiet, full of fear. This fire was warm, safe, familiar. Dane took out a small piece of scrap metal and began carving something with a tiny tool. "What are you making?" Zira asked. He smiled, not looking up. "A gift." "For who?" "For someone who saved my life." Zira looked surprised. "I saved your life." Dane finally looked at her, more than once. He paused. His voice softened. "When I left Earth, when the war ended, I was broken. I thought I had no reason to keep going. I believed that my best days were behind me." He looked into the fire. "But then I saw your face, all grown up, standing in front of me, strong and fearless. And I realized, maybe I did something right after all." Zira didn't speak. Not for a moment. Then she whispered, "You saved me first." Dane looked at her again. She continued, "When everyone else ran, you stopped. When I was crying, you gave me water. When I was hiding, you gave me hope. That one act changed everything. My whole life." Her eyes shimmered. "I was just a scared child. You didn't have to help me. But you did." Dane reached over and placed the small piece of metal in her hand. It was shaped like a tiny star, just like the pendant he gave her years ago. Only this time, it had her name carved into it. "Zira," she read softly. "I didn't forget you," he said. "And I never forgot you," she replied. The next morning, they began building. Not weapons, not ships, but a home. A place in the valley, surrounded by crystal trees and sky-blue grass. They used parts from old ships, scrap metal from the cave, and tech Zara had collected over the years. It was slow work, but it was good work. And soon, the home began to take shape. A round structure with wide windows, a glowing roof, and walls made of polished white stone. Word spread. Zara sent encrypted messages across the galaxy to those in hiding, those forgotten, those who had no place left to go. Humans, hybrids, runaways, war survivors. They came in small groups at first, then in waves. A broken girl with burn scars, a tired soldier who had lost his crew, a child who hadn't spoken since the war, even a human pilot who thought he was the last of his kind. They came for safety. They stayed for hope. Zara trained them. Dane taught them. Together, they built a community, a place not ruled by fear, but by freedom. A place that didn't care what species you were, what mistakes you made, or how far you had fallen. If you had a heart, you belonged. Years passed. The little settlement became a hidden sanctuary. They called it Haven, a name Dane came up with. Zara laughed when he first suggested it. "It sounds soft," she had said. "Maybe we need something soft," he replied. One night, under the stars, Zara sat alone with her pendant in her hand. It didn't glow anymore, not like before. She thought maybe it had served its purpose. That was okay, because now she had him, and a whole family she never expected. Dane walked over, slower than before, but still with that familiar smile. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, just remembering. Good memories. The best. He sat beside her. "It's funny." "What?" "All those years I spent hiding, thinking I had no more to give. But it turns out one small act, saving a scared little girl, was the beginning of something much bigger." Zara smiled. "Saving me saved you." He looked at her, eyes full of quiet love and respect. "No," he said, "you saved me first."